Y'all, each episode of this show just gets better and better and better. Today we're going to be talking about episode 3, so welcome back to the damn sofa. And that's the damn sofa, and that's my damn sassy sidekick, Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane, and my damn name's Paul. I do appreciate you being here, and thank you to everybody who makes the Sofa Squad possible. Y'all, it would not be possible without y'all being here. I couldn't make the amount of content that I do without you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, from Roscoe's heart, and the bottom of the damn seat cushions. Now be sure to check out the description below because I have links to my other channels down there. So check those out. Be sure to subscribe to all of them if you would like to. Again, we are going to be talking about The Staircase, the HBO series currently going on, specifically episode 3 today. I have my notes in front of me, so we're just going to be reading off those, kind of like a laid back kind of conversation here. So it starts off with an opening scene. It's one of the girls talking about her mother dying, and we're also showing like blood splatter. It was very Dexter, and I'm very fascinated by the science of this, right? And one thing that this show does so well, to me, in my opinion, is it does this kind of stuff well. These montages, these split screen type things of, going back in time and different things like this. It is so well put together, in my opinion. And it's absolutely drawn me into it. Now, especially this being a case that I have just eaten up every last little thing I can about it, makes it even better, right? Okay, so then we're shown a scene about the blowpoke, the elusive blowpoke, and the cops searching the home for it and the whole 9 yards. Now, I will say this, spoiler alert, at the time of me recording this about episode 3, I've already watched all the way through episode 6, but I've been super busy at work and I've not been able to catch up recording all of them. So we're doing that. So, and again, it's a real case, right? We've studied it, we've watched it, so we know the whole blowpoke thing. But it's interesting watching how that played out, because the whole blowpoke thing, while it made a little bit of sense, especially seeing the show play out every theory, it makes less sense now, right? Because I'm just like, yeah, you know what? This was never a gotcha moment. It tried to be, but this is just one thing for me that I was like, it just was, it didn't go over too well. Although I can see how they would think that this would be the thing, right? Okay, now we're shown a scene of Kathleen at the attic with pest control talking about a guy about bats in the attic. This is a part of this whole thing that I never knew was going on in the background. I don't know how much of this is artistic freedom and playing this whole theory up of something being up there, maybe a bat coming down, scaring her, that kind of a thing, whatever the case may be, right? Nonetheless, one thing this does show that I think is very fascinating, and we'll see other bits of this along the way, is how, not in ruins, but how many issues were going on with this home. So if y'all don't know, this style home that they have, this wooden type home, all this, y'all, these old historical type homes and whatnot, y'all, in addition to them costing a lot of money, this is like a huge house in Durham, right? Where this house is located in Durham, and I don't really remember what it was like back then, but now you would almost not know that this like super fancy neighborhood is where it's at, right? It's off this main strip, and you're just like, what, this neighborhood's right here? So what I'm getting at is the property values. I'm just like, alone, I'm like, oh my god, this has to be super expensive, let alone the upkeep on a house like this. We already know they were going through all these financial issues, right? So that's going on, and I think it's another thing that the show has done really well to portray. Okay, my next note says, then we see Mike Peterson on the phone in the office talking about his son screwing them over, how they need money. He's asking Patty for money, asking Patty to refi the house. This is such an excellent scene showing how Mike is spinning all these plates at one time. He's manipulating Kathleen, he's manipulating Patty. Notice he never has the money, right? He is like, oh, yep, sold my bestseller book. Now, if he was maintaining that and publishing book after book and bestseller after bestseller, great, wonderful, but he wasn't. He was sitting around seemingly doing nothing and spending Kathleen's money, right? And his sons were right along doing the same thing. That's the part that just blows my mind with this, and the show shows this more and more, and we'll talk about this in another episode where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just, what was this guy? I mean, had no problem spending her money. I mean, I bet she was stressed to the max. Okay, so let's move on. Then we see a scene of Frida and the male hooker talking, and he looks like Todd in real life. Y'all, the actor that played him, when they showed him, I was like, did they get the real Todd? I mean, I was like, this is creepy. And that whole scene where he's like, well, yeah, I'm glad I'm well hung. And I was like, do we need to talk to her in this conversation? But she could hold her own, right? So there's that. And then we see back and forth of each lawyer team trying to overcome hurdles about the affairs, such as no one ever slept with them. Now, this has become a major thing in another episode that I did not know, right? I had no idea, and literally has changed my perspective on this big time, okay? So that is huge, because one thing I think that happened with his team, with Mike's team, and seeing this, and again, this is like a fictionalized version of the documentary, so we have to take that with, what it is. One thing with Mike's team is that I think that they really convinced themselves of some things that it was never going to pass a jury, right? Where it was like, this looks really bad. Almost like Amber Heard's team. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, girl, listen to what you're saying. Let's take the temperature. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't going to pass the vibe check, okay? So then we see the detective going all over town looking for a gay connection, and this is not going to end well for Mike. Show scene, okay, I'm just going down my notes. Show scene of Kathleen coming home during the day. Oh my God, this part. She comes home, there's a car in the driveway, she hears an owl in the trees. They're setting this up wonderfully. In the car is massage oil and stuff, but it ends up being a massage for Kathleen. I was like, oh my God, she's gonna catch him having an affair. I was like, I am done. Yo, this episode had me on the damn edge of my seat, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, then we see a scene of a doc crew in the living room saying, this part, I forgot it was this episode. I haven't read my notes on this in a while, so this is kind of fun to react to it in this way, because I'm like, I forgot it was this episode. Okay, we see a scene of the documentary crew saying a Denise Rowe claims Mike had sex with him several times. Patty says that Mike had dalliances or something with men and women when they lived in Germany, and that she didn't end up at the bottom of the stairs. His brother confronts him, and he says Kathleen knew about it. The brother wants to go home, and Peterson freaks out. He says it's all about me. Y'all, there's so much to unpack here. So remember in the opening things where that dude they showed the scene of Mike having that party at his home for the political thing, and the dude meets him and it's all awkward? Well, that ends up being Denise Rowe, this witness. And it's like, oh my God, we come to find out that this dude has slept with Mike. So the DA does find a dude that has confirmed, I slept with him. A bunch of my friends have slept with him. This is a known thing, right? But also in this, when we see the brother confronting him, one thing that this show is showing, and I don't know if this is really how it went down, is the strain on all those around him. What we saw through the documentary and what we saw through everything else was like these people with undying support. But this is showing kind of behind the scenes where people are having a hard time believing him through all of his lies, and it's really exhausting. And the brother is like, I want to go home, I have a family, and Mike's, it's all about me. It's all about me, and I think that is the real Mike Peterson, right? Okay, so then we see Denise Rowe meeting with the state talking about sleeping with Peterson, and he was the guy from the early episode, we just talked about that. He says he has a friend who slept with him too, but then Dennis says he slept with lots of Jim Harden's friends and donors, and he wants to change his mind about using them. So this part right here seems 100% legit. This is one of the things that people, and I think we talked about it previously or in a live chat where it's like, or in one of the other episodes, where people have no idea how many down low men, they're called, do this kind of stuff, right? Where they don't consider themselves gay because they're not living with another man, but they are 100% hooking up with dudes and doing this whole lifestyle thing, right? And it's very common, and you see this a lot in the political spectrum, and that's why a lot of people say, like, when you see a lot of people out there yelling about, like, anti-gay stuff and whatnot, people in the know where it's like, yeah, most likely this is going on, because 9 out of 10 times that happens, right? And people are in the know, this is what we see all the time, right? Anyway, so this plays that up completely, and it also shows where I'm like, how interesting that Jim Harden's like, well, we can't bring Dennis because it's going to expose all my donors, right? I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm sure something went, like, if they had proof that someone slept with Mike, because that, putting him on the stand, would have blown his case to smithereens. Also, what is interesting, and I might have said this later, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now, and we'll cross the path if I come to the note, is when Mike's like, see, they don't have anything. Mike, if this is all how it went down, Mike knows that he slept with all these dudes, but he's like, well, they don't have it, so I can own the lie and run with it. That right there says so much, right? And that right there, I'm just like, yeah, that's really shady. Really shady, okay? So this part was like a game changer for me. If there was any amount of like me wanting to believe him, or maybe something weird happened, this was like, oh, whoa. Because for a lot, I was just like, well, maybe, it's weird that they couldn't find someone that actually had sex with him, right? Like maybe he didn't act on this here, or whatever. Also, Patty saying openly that, yeah, he was having affairs and sleeping with men and women, and, I didn't end up dead. Number one, it helps the story of, well, Kathleen believed me, but you see how manipulative Mike is, right? There's no telling what he was offering her or trying to spin things around for her. So there's that. Let's also remember, Patty was living with him, this is recently in Durham, and passed away of natural causes. We'll see about that. Anyways. Next note, we see Peterson lying to his attorney saying, see, I told you so, I didn't know Dennis. Major. Then we see a scene of Mike leaving home after she gets a massage. He goes to the video store. He screws a dude in one of the video things, who we see later, that one of the mechanics, or earlier we saw. And then he comes home and he's asking Kathleen for money in the kitchen. Y'all, I don't know any other way to say this or whatever, and I'm not trying to be offensive to Miss Kathleen or anything, and honestly I was a little taken aback by this and the way they showed it, but they show him going to this video place while she's getting a massage. He goes in the seedy place, has sex with this like straight mechanic dude who we met earlier, we'll see later, and then he comes home to Kathleen manipulating money out of her for the boys, and then while she's cooking dinner, turn the volume down in case kids are watching, he tosses her salad at the damn kitchen counter in front of the dinner. I was like, oh my God. Now, that being said, I just watched an interview this morning. I'm telling y'all, this is like the case I'm obsessed with. This is from earlier where Ron, the investigator dude that worked for them, is interviewing the Atwaters, Kathleen Atwater, so a different one. And she was saying that Kathleen Peterson had mentioned to her about how, basically her sex life was like pretty spicy. Like Mike would just do random sex like all the time, this kind of thing. I would argue that Mike was a sex addict. And so there's a lot of dudes like him that it doesn't really matter, gay, a guy, a girl, whatever. They're just going to have sex with whoever, right? This is the thing. Like this is a thing, right? It's a spectrum. They're attracted to whatever. There's nothing wrong with this. It just happens to be that. If you're being upfront and honest with your partners, right? And not lying and manipulating to them. This is where I have a hard time believing that Kathleen would be okay with Michael Peterson going to a seedy video bar, screwing a guy in the back room, and then coming home and tossing her salad. I do not believe this. Okay, I just don't. I mean, I know the show's saying that, but it's just portraying it in that way. I don't believe that, right? Do I believe that he could have had a conversation with her about being bisexual? Sure. But I think there would have been parameters to it. I don't believe at this point that she knew about this part of him at all, right? So anyways, then we see a scene of the girls, the adopted girls, and they reluctantly agree to go on the news. And again, this is just showing how strained everybody is, pardon me, they're not wanting to do this. They're going out of their comfort zone. Then we see Todd at a bar with another dude in the bathroom doing coke, and you completely think they're messing around with each other. And then it had me being like, oh my God, he's just like his dad. He's gonna kill somebody too. You know what I'm saying? Then we see a scene of Mike at David's office where Caitlin is taking the life insurance money. Wow, scene of Mike at David's. Okay, so Caitlin, the life insurance money, all that kind of stuff. Remember, at this point, like Caitlin, this is all separated. Caitlin's like, this is not cool. I am onto this. So, again, seeing this whole family dynamic of it splitting and the damages caused, it's done so well and sheds a completely different light on this. Okay, we see an interview with the Ratliff girls talking about their mother in Germany. Then we see their aunt making a phone call to the DA. Then we see Mike's attorney blow up. We see the girls get pulled into the whole ordeal. So this is them talking about what happened over in Germany. This whole thing coming down about the woman, their mother found at the bottom of the stairs. Not a good look. This is really, really, really bad. And this is not going to, play out well for Michael Peterson, right? Then we see Dwayne Deaver telling Jim Harden has replicated the crime scene down to a T. Now this part makes me want to absolutely reach through the damn screen and just strangle Dwayne Deaver. This is where I 100% just think the DA in Durham dropped the ball. If Caitlyn and her family are able to ever sue them for this, I don't think they could. And to just be absolutely pissed off at them for the rest of their life, please do. I look at them as being just as guilty as Michael Peterson at this point, right? And then the episode ends with they finish off trial day 1 and they exhume the Ratliff mother. And we know at this point how this is going to end. If you follow the case, it's not good. And there's that. So this is episode 3. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Especially let me know what you thought about the portrayal of Dennis Rowe in this and the whole dynamic. Seeing this play out and of the portrayal, and again, it is fictionalized, it just changes the dynamics of, oh, wait a minute, I didn't seeing it like this. And again, when we talk about the owl scene and stuff, because just spoiler alert, seeing it portrayed, but I still have my doubts about it. But I was like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, this was something I had kind of considered, but this is way more plausible. But there's still things that I'm like, not. There's other things that weigh heavier on me. So anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments. That's it. I love you, Sofa Squad. And guess what? I'll talk to you soon.